it's such a big platform, and there's a heuristic or a mental shortcut that viewers will make as well to be like, if they see you advertising on that platform, they'll consider you a serious brand. Just the reach and the impact you can have with people, I don't think it's rivaled. I don't think there's another platform quite like it.
Joining me this week is YouTube expert Tom Breeze, and he has a very different view on the type of content you should be creating for YouTube. You won't want to miss this episode. Welcome to the Simon Says Video Podcast with your host, me, Simon Banks, where we talk about all things video and how this powerful medium can help you grow your business. We focus on how you can get a return on any video content you create. We talk about strategy, production, content, distribution, marketing, how you can get visible, gain new leads, and get new clients. Now, joining me this week is Tom Breeze. Now, I've known Tom for several years, and he's always been in what I call the YouTube space. Tom is a leading video advertising expert. He's an entrepreneur, speaker, author, and founder of video advertising agency Viewability. He's created over 1,700 video ads campaigns for his clients, focusing on lead generation, customer acquisition, brand awareness, and e-commerce campaigns. He's spent a small fortune testing and tracking the results, and with the knowledge, he now teaches many other business owners and entrepreneurs the strategies that work and exactly how to advertise using YouTube. I'm really excited about this episode because I've been saying for a while that you need to put some money behind your video content to make sure it gets into the right audience. And so having Tom on the show, that's sort of debug this whole thing about for YouTube. So Tom, welcome. Thank you for joining. Let's start with why YouTube. Why is YouTube still relevant here in 2023?
YouTube is such a huge platform, and it's growing every day, and the way that people are using it every day is changing as well. So I think in the past, people have looked at YouTube, especially in its early days, as just like a video hosting platform, perhaps, and then maybe another place to go and see cat videos and that type of thing, like trying to look at those funny videos and things. But it's really starting to be adopted into just everyday life, you know, so it becomes the platform to go and watch video. If you were to try and search for any video that you wanted to watch or any content which needs to be demonstrated, then you're going to immediately start to go to YouTube. And YouTube is preferred in all the search results as well, because it's a company owned by Google. And the platform itself is just on our devices. It's kind of on our TVs now as well. Kids are adopting it. So it's just become kind of the mainstay of where we go to watch video. And I think it will supersede TV in the future as well. There's always a place for TV and there's always a place for movies and that type of thing. It's just that you look at the business models behind every type of broadcasting, and YouTube pays zero to its content or to go and create content, you know. So look at someone like Netflix that has to pay hundreds of millions of dollars to directors and for production to create a film that would distract a viewer for 2 hours. YouTube don't have any of that upfront cost. The content creators will do that themselves, and they'll make their money from the ad revenue that's generated. And so it's just a business model that works very well for YouTube. It's a great entertainment platform, and it's where the world goes to watch video. It's such a big platform, and there's a heuristic or a mental shortcut that viewers will make as well to be like, if they see you advertising on that platform, they'll consider you a serious brand. You know, that it's like if you see anyone running an ad on the Superbowl, not to say it's the same thing, of course, but there's a given or a mental shortcut that you'll make to be like, that brand must be doing pretty well, therefore their products must be pretty good. Just the reach and the impact you can have with people on YouTube is I don't think it's rivaled. I don't think there's another platform quite like it.
Yeah, we all go to YouTube to do a search or to find out something. And I think this is a key distinction, is actually YouTube, it's not really a social media platform. It's a search engine first. And I think this is where a lot of businesses make a mistake. They just see YouTube as basically a video hosting platform, and then they put the content up there and hope that, you know, sort of think that people just discover it.
I think there's definitely an element of the platform being a search-based platform where people will go to YouTube to search. I think it is changing over time. Like a lot of the advertising targeting options that you have available to you are far less intent based these days. So if you were to run certain types of advertising that leans on machine learning, which is what you kind of want to be doing if you're advertising on the platform. When you look at the way you can advertise now, they've taken away a lot of the contextual targeting. So things like if you were to try and target people by the videos they're watching or the keywords they type in or topics of information, those aren't available to you in the same way as they used to be. Because YouTube just knows so much more information about segments and audiences, general behavioral change in people. And when they notice those signals and those markers, it can tag people basically in different ways. So every user on the platform will be displaying different types of behavior. Nowadays, it's kind of becoming this thing for an advertiser to realize that you're not advertising to a person and their immediate behavior. You're not advertising to small pockets of groups of people that are showing behaviors that are kind of the right type of interest. And it changes the game a little bit because it means that you can't turn up at exactly the right time with really relevant content. You're starting to be a little bit broader brush and getting in front of people based on their interests. But it just means that you can target far more people. It's a ever-changing world right now on YouTube. There's so many different changes that are happening, which is really unprecedented over the last, let's say, 7 or 8 years. It's been pretty smooth sailing with how the platform works. And over the last 6 months, it's been huge amounts of changes. So they are changing the platform. I think that people are using the platform more and more as a entertainment space as well as an educational place as well.
So as a business, where should you start with YouTube? If you haven't started already, is it too late to start? And if you're thinking about as a business, yes, I need to have some sort of awareness on YouTube. I need to build my YouTube channel. Where would you start?
I would start by thinking about content that your customers really want to hear about. So if you kind of think about your customer and you think, right, what is it that they would be inspired by? So it's not, it doesn't come to you immediately. Typically, it's more like you get to kind of think about your customer, what it's like a day in the life of that customer, and what like information can you give to them that's very, very useful, very valuable, and hopefully quite unique. Something that inspires you perhaps as well. Where you think like people should really know this, and this is kind of you're making a case for something and giving people really valuable content. I think that there's a lot of people approach YouTube in the way that they think, what are all the search terms that people are typing in, and let's go create videos about every single search term. So we game the SEO game and hopefully get a bit more reach. And I think those days are gone. I think that trying to create okay content for an audience, like the audience is so much more demanding these days. Your content needs to be ridiculously good. You don't need to create so much of it like it was beneficial to in the past. Now you can create a smaller volume of content, but make it so good from a standpoint of like, this is the information that people need. Again, production is can be useful, but if you look at most of the big videos on YouTube, production quality is not like it's movie sets. It's not like it's ridiculously high quality. You can a DSLR and is good. A mobile phone can be good too. You can get your content done pretty well. But I'd really recommend people to take a step back from the whole YouTube ecosystem for a second before you start thinking, how do we play on this platform? Think about your own brand. Think about what you would like to talk about, and then bring that to the platform. Because you're going to have so much more impact with the right people. Like people will want to share your content, and they'll like on it and they'll comment, and that's what YouTube are looking for. They're looking for the best content that's out there, and they'll help you if you create great content. If you get really high retention, lots of likes, comments, and subscribers, that's where I'd start with YouTube. Is like create the content you want to create, not what you've probably been told to create. So go for a walk, think about like the most inspiring idea you can think of, and that's kind of the video that you should probably create.
Now that's really interesting, because most of the people, what I sort of watch on YouTube is you need to create videos for search terms, and you need to be uploading a video at least once a week to sort of get the platform to know you and understand your content to put in front of others. And you're sort of going, that's not the case anymore.
Well, everyone's doing it. Like it's so it's boring content typically, and unless you've got some amazing spin on things, it's probably been done before and no one really cares, you know, or you create like videos about content that gets like 3 views a month or something. It's like, okay, who like, so you've got to go at it from a standpoint of pull your brand through. Okay, so we think about the customer and we think about, right, what is it that they really want? Like, what's the outcome? Maybe their search term to begin with. Like, you think, right, okay, someone's looking for information about how to buy businesses, for example, like merger and acquisition content. I don't know, just kind of something off the cuff here. You might then think, right, what is it that your audience really need to know about? Like, what's the inspiring content or story that you can share with somebody about that content? And it's really important to think like, right, what's the headline of the video? What's the title of the video going to be? And what's the thumbnail going to look like? I would spend a lot of time thinking about that, just to be like, every time you create your content, you want it to be your best content you've ever created. Like you're giving a presentation in front of 10,000 people at a stadium, and it's your one chance to absolutely nail it. But at the same time, you're thinking about delivering this content to one person, but you know that that's the kind of the stakes, you know, so you want to make it really, really good. Average content, it works against your brand. People don't want that. You have one moment to be in front of them and inspire them, you know, and so people think, I want more content from this person or this brand. So mediocre content about search terms is just going to be like, it just goes in the wash. You know, it's boring. No one really wants it. And I just foresee that being hard work, boring work, and then people will give up. And you see so many channels like that, you know, who just start creating content and then think, oh, this is really boring. And it is. You're boring the pants off your viewers. You're boring the pants off yourself. No, YouTube doesn't like it. Like, what's going on? Like, why did you get into this in the first place? You want to start with content you really feel inspired by. So think about your brand. Think about like, okay, cool. This is what they're presenting me with, is like, this is their search terms. This is like what they're looking for. Great, fine. Now think of your content that would really resonate with that, which will be 10 times better than the content that's already out there. Like, how are you going to do that? And then you might think, well, I don't know how. Like, sit with that question for a few days if you need to, and think, what is the very best content that's going to blow the rest of the content out the water? Because if you create that and you get consistent at doing that, that's going to be really powerful for your brand. What you need to make sure you know is that your brand promise, which is what people really want to hear from you, is like, you're going to feel this when you do business with us, and it's going to be done in this type of way. Like, here's our emotion and here's our values. That kind of adds up to your brand promise. And if that kind of comes through in a lot of your videos, you're going to find that people really resonate with you, you know, and that's really like, when it comes to creating content on YouTube, if you can bring that across, people will find your content, like it, comment on it, share it, have high retention on it. And YouTube are looking for those markers, and it won't be long before you start getting a lot more exposure. Of course, we run ads to make sure that also that video gets a lot more exposure, and we can amplify the content that you create. So you kind of create your own audience, and you can target your demographic and your audiences based on their search behavior. But for anyone who doesn't want to do advertising, still, it's really important to create videos that are going to really resonate with your audience.
So do you still think it's going to be, you lead with values rather than just creating it like a glossy sales promo type of video?
I think there's a time and a place for both. The approach I would probably recommend for people is to start with that content and that value. Create a video so powerful that you feel very proud about it, and you want to show it off yourself, and then run it as an ad. So you want to have a call to action in it. You want to be really clear with that, but you want to lead with 80% of it is going to be pure value. But that value can be wrapped up in we use a framework called ADUCATE. So really, your whole thing is selling, but you're kind of selling the idea to people so they really adopt it as quickly as possible. And that's kind of the type of video I'll probably get started with. Once someone's engaged with your brand and they've got to know, like, and trust you and would consider buying from you, at that point, you could afford to run more glossy style videos, as you say. But you could go for like a 90-second pitch video to get someone to take action and take the next step on the journey. Like, I'm a direct response advertiser and have been for many years. And so I've got kind of that running through my veins. I want to make sure that every dollar I spend, I make more than $1 back. And I want to try and do that at scale as well. I just think that when you're first getting started, you want to have this foundational body of work that is, you know, and it doesn't have to be a huge number of videos, like 5-10 videos that are really high quality content videos. You can use those to amplify your brand. And so if people ever check you out, they're going to be like, wow, I love all your content you've created. I feel comfortable buying from you as well. But then once you're building that brand up, your ads will perform so much better as well. They're kind of the shorter direct response ads asking people to take action and going to buy something from you. Those videos will work so much more effectively when you already have an established brand.
Let me unpack that a little bit. So basically saying it's best to invest in producing, you know, 4 or 5 really high quality videos, which you can upload to YouTube sort of as your awareness to build your channel. And then the magic here, or the key, is then to put some money behind it to push it into your intended audience. And therefore, you're not having this constant pressure, I guess, in terms of, oh, I must do a YouTube video this week and trying to rush something out. But I guess the key really here is, before you do any video content, is actually to think about the type of video you need to create. And I guess this will come down to basically the script, some of the production values as well, and how do you make that video, I guess, engaging enough that people will want to watch. So can we sort of unpack your framework, your ADUCATE framework, just to help our audience understand the type of video that you should be creating?
We use a framework that helps us communicate really effectively and helps us make sure that we have all of the persuasion points into the video, even as a content video, to work really effectively. So like I said before, you want to make sure you come up with your idea, your content, your value that you're going to provide to people, and make it as sexy, as enticing, as compelling as possible. You know, so think of a really good title, think of a really good thumbnail, and think, right, that's going to be the opening hook, so to speak, to your video. So if you look in your space, you could like type in a few keywords, perhaps, of like what you think your customer's going to be typing in, and you can look through all the videos that are out there, including the thumbnails, and you can think, right, I could probably better that. Great. That's kind of a great opportunity for you. So have a look through that, gain some inspiration, but stick with your original idea. So you need to make sure it's unique to you. You need to make sure that, oh, I've got a new approach to handling this question or this topic. So you start there, and then you're going to use ADUCATE as your framework to help with the educational piece of your content. So you might say, great, this is what I want to teach people. This is hopefully build it into some sort of framework, a method, a unique proprietary system, something that you can communicate with people. And so, like, for example, I've seen a video recently from a friend of mine who created a video that is him presenting, but he just brings up, he's like screen shares his iPad, and all he does is just puts like a grid down, like hand drawn with his pen on his iPad, and he literally just draws a line down and a few lines across to make a grid of 6 boxes. And he goes, cool, I'm going to teach you about 6 different ways of generating customers. Let's get into it. And that's kind of an immediate framework. I'm like, okay, cool, there's 6 boxes. I'm going to find out 6 different ways of generating customers for my business. And it was like, that's as simple as it needs to be. You could get a whiteboard out. You could print out your methodology onto something, but you want it to be like a tangible thing that people can see immediately, that they're like, that's going to be unpacked in this video. As if people see that, they're like, oh, great, I can see what we're going to be going through. A lot of it's being concealed. A lot of it will be revealed in the video. And it just opens that loop for people, opens that hook, but also knows it's going to be an educational video. So right at the start of the video, that can be a really effective way of showing people what to come. But then we use ADUCATE. So ADUCATE is an acronym. It's ADUCATE. A of ADUCATE stands for AIM. And this is your viewer's aim, right? So what you want to make sure you're doing when it comes to the beginning of your video is get straight into the content. Don't dilly-dally and do an introduction or a logo or anything like that. Just get straight into the content immediately. So let's say, for example, you had a video about the top 5 businesses to start in 2023, and you might want to release that at the end of 2022, so the timing is right. If you were to do that, then you want to kind of like literally number out the top 5, so like, or write down 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 on a board or a TV screen or whatever it would be. And you'd be like, all right, let's get straight into it. Number 1. So you're immediately teaching in the video. It's really important you get into that. No introduction to who you are, no kind of logo stinger or anything like that. Just straight away get into the content. It's really important because the viewer already knows what the content is about because they've seen the thumbnail and the headline and they've clicked to play the video. Once you start teaching, early on in the video, you want to mention who this is for, as in terms of the demographics and the psychographics. So if you're speaking to golfers, for example, you might say, so if you're over the age of 40 and you're a weekend golfer, then this is perfect for you. So you want to call out who it is you're speaking to. So the psychographic being like the weekend golfer, that's how they'll probably class themselves, and the demographic being like an older golfer. But you want to talk about their immediate wants, almost like what it is that they're searching for, what they want solved right now, and the desired outcome. So what's like, if they were to fix that, what would that mean? So let's say, for example, someone's like looking up a golf video because they want to fix their slice, for example. That's the immediate want. They want to just fix their slice because they keep on bananaing it off into the trees or the lake. The desired outcome will be like, I want it to go straight. I want the ball to go straight and I want my scores to be better than ever. The other thing you need to add into this aim section would be your emotional benefits. So to say, right, if you were to achieve that and play better golf, the emotional benefit of that might be pride. It might be the competitive spirit in you coming out and beating your friends. And so you can see like your friends going like, what the hell just happened? How did Tom all of a sudden improve his golf game overnight, it seems? So it's going to have that emotional benefit of like pride in my own game, but then perhaps I could then gloat in front of my friends and finally beat my friends. And then it might be like I can fall back in love with the game because once upon a time I might have had the bug for golf, but now I've lost it and I've just get frustrated every single time I play the game. It sounds very true, to be honest. That's exactly describing myself. But that's kind of what you want to do in the aim of part of your video is you want to make sure that you are really tapping into the connecting with what it is that your customer really wants. And they're like, yes. And it can be done in like 1 or 2 sentences, but you're just going to pepper that in early in the teaching of your content. So people feel like, this is really, really relevant for me.
So that's just the A. A is for aim. Next is D.
D is for difficulty. So difficulty in the video is, again, a really quick peppering of a few sentences just at some point in the video. You're going to explain their current challenge, what it is they're going through. If you can describe it in a way that it's almost like the conversation they're already having in their mind. If you can explain it to them in a clearer way than they've ever thought possible, they're like, oh my word, you really get me. You understand what I'm actually going through. So you want to make really clear that you understand what their current challenge is, like fixing that slice, like what it feels like to have that slice, what it looks like, what it, how they refer to it. So bananaing off into the lake or the trees is what a lot of golfers will call it. And then the emotional pain, the frustration it caused, the lack of confidence when you stand over the ball, if you're playing golf, the emotions that are kind of present there can be really frustrating. You just want to snap your clubs, for example. But then you also want to tap into what they stand to lose if they don't fix this. So you want to start putting some tension on this situation. Tension is the number one thing that drives action, is that people feel uncomfortable, feel like, there's pent up emotion here, I need to release it. They release it through their behavior. So what they would stand to lose if they don't fix this problem with their slice, every time they go out and play golf, they get embed bad habits. It's going to actually get worse if they don't fix this because they overcompensate and you don't play properly. And all of a sudden you realize that you're creating more and more of a problem for yourself over the years. So you stand to lose big time because your slice is going to get worse and worse and your whole golf game is going to get worse and worse unless you nip this in the bud now. Like now's the time to fix this right now. So that's kind of like the difficulty. You're going to explain that to them. Now, the next thing we want to tap into is the U of ADUCATE, which is the undertaking. This is the point where you start to say, okay, cool. So I'm teaching you this content. This is what you want, the aims. This is the difficulties you're currently experiencing. I'm going to give you the training, or as I'm teaching you this, let me just give you some context to how this came about, like how my method works so well, how we were able to create this thing that I'm walking you through right now. So it's like you're undertaking, give them a bit of a story of like why you did this in the first place. And as you do that, you're saying, look, this system is tried and tested, but I actually built it 15 years ago. because I realized there were two types of people. And that's what you want to do. You want to identify two types of people, you like success and losing group, so to speak, like the people that can hit the ball straight, the people that keep on slicing. It felt like you want to identify, like, there's two types of golfer here. There's two, and you can apply this to pretty much anything that you've ever tried to fix before. It's like some people are able to do it and some people aren't able to do it. When you do that, you want to explain why it was really important for you to tackle this problem. And it's got to tap into your values as a brand or as an individual. So you say, I saw this and I had to fix it. Now, why did you have to fix it? Because people were struggling and you couldn't put up with that, or you had the problem yourself, or a loved one had the same problem. What was it that really inspired you to go and fix this problem, to go and create a whole business around kind of fixing this problem for people? Why were you inspired to do so? Because you want to share your values. You want to share with people, this is what I stand for and stand against at this point. So people feel very comfortable being like, I can buy into your brand because I'm going to get the outcome, get that emotional outcome. But also the way you do this is so important because if you can share your values, you do it in a methodical way, or you do it in a caring way, or you do it in a whatever way it is you do it. You want to kind of start sharing that in the video. That's your values that you stand for and also stand against. And that will just it gives you this opening to talk a little bit more about your brand. I'm not talking about very long at all, 1 or 2 sentences again, but you can share with people like why it was so important to you, and that will really rally people emotionally. That connects with people a lot. So you want to share that undertaking of what it is why it is you started this journey to try and fix this problem, and how that solution that you're presenting in the video came about. By that point, you're probably sparking off thought processes that are going on in your viewer's head. So as we go through educate, the next letter is the C. Aim, difficulty, undertaking, and then credibility is the C. So credibility, at this point, people are thinking, okay, cool, you took on this undertaking. Well, why were you qualified to do this? And that's where you really want to identify with people and say, this is my experience. I came at this from a different point of view that no one else had come at before. I have a wealth of experience in various different disciplines. I've won awards for things I've done. I don't know, build up your credibility at that point. But if you can have an approach on this, like, to why were you able to fix it? It might be because you have a different point of view to everybody else, because you come at it from a slightly different way. You're not the obvious trained person. So you see this in science quite a bit. Like, you might have the people in the lab discovering things all the time, which is great. But sometimes they come across problems they can't solve. There's not an easy solution to everything. And it can take an outsider sometimes to look at it and think, hang on a second, why are you just not doing it this way? And it's that outsider's perspective, that different point of view on things, that can get the breakthrough. The next letter on educate is the A. It stands for adapt. And the reason being, what we want to do is we want to share with people like, okay, cool, I've given you the solution by this point. I've given you the framework or the unique method or the system that's going to really help you, like educate, for example. When I teach educate, I'll do it in such a way whereby we go deep on like the values and everything else. But over the years, educate is actually developed and evolved based on lots of different things that are happening on YouTube. So over the last 6 months, lots has happened on YouTube, and we've had to adapt a little bit the actual the educate framework to make sure it stays ahead of the curve, and it's still a framework that works. It needs a tweak from time to time. It could be like a little drawback that's not going to damage the integrity of that solution. It's more saying the solution is great, it works really, really, really powerfully, but it wasn't quite ready yet, and I had to tweak it, I had to adapt it to make it ready. Because by sharing with people like the struggle that you had to bring this, it kind of adds more value to the product, but also by owning up and being honest about the product itself, then people believe you more. And people with that, they build trust with you. They feel like, because you're telling me that it wasn't perfect, I can believe in what you're talking about because you've been honest with me. And then you want to say, but we fixed that through this methodology. We now find that this system works a lot more efficiently because we fixed it. And here's how we fixed it. So now with this change, you can now talk about all the trust that's been generated in the marketplace as a result of this tweak to this. So you might talk about all the times this product's been featured in the press, or all the testimonials you've got, that type of thing, all the accolades and the emergence of this product being adopted by the wider group of people. But you want to on the video to see people just like you. So choose your testimonials really carefully to show that people like us, people like your customers, are just like your viewer, and they're doing things like buying your product, because it'll make you feel so much more certain and confident about making that purchasing decision. So you want to, that's the T of Educate, that trust element, the testimonials, the endorsements, the press coverage. And the last thing then in the E of Educate is your exit. This is your call to action, basically. So you can be as subtle as you like to be, or you can be very kind of overt and talk literally about the products you have for people that you want people to go buy. So you want to provide that, and at some point, whether you do it on the video or whether you do it on the website, you're going to have your core offering, what it is you're offering for people, quote the price, obviously, and then the show people who it's for and who it's not for. If there's any objections that people will have, then you want to make sure you create bonus content that will just handle that, or bonus products that will just handle that, and name those bonuses. Have a really good guarantee, so people feel very comfortable doing business with you. And then pull on that tension again to say, this is your moment in the video to be like, who are you going to be? Are you going to be the dabbler, or are you going to be the real guitar player? Are you going to be the, which identity are you choosing? Because you really want to build tension at this point of the video around their identity. You want to say, this is your moment. Are you going to be the gym goer, or are you going to be the person that's a slob and stay at home all day? That might be a bit aggressive, but you get my point, right? You're talking about this decision whether to click and go buy is not about whether you're going to buy this product or not. This is about a decision you're making about your own identity. Like, who are you deciding to be as a result of this video? And if you can be that person, here's what the status level looks like for you. Like, here's what life will look like. Here's the sort of people you'll be hanging around with. Here's the sort of things you'll own. Here's the sort of like lifestyle you'll now have. It's that status that comes with that decision about their identity now. And so you're putting a lot of tension on them about this decision they're making, whether they're going to click and go buy in the video. And it's not about buying the product so much as it is to say, the product all makes sense. It's logically, yeah, you can justify that. But the emotion behind it is to say, who are you going to be? And if you really want like the outcome and the emotional benefits and the status of getting success, this is the decision you need to make today. And at that point, you do the call to action. And that is kind of the whole thing unpacked, the whole of Educate. So hopefully that was useful and valuable.
Now, Educate, for probably a lot of people, are going, wow, how long is this video? It sounds like it's going to be like a mini documentary. I mean, in terms of duration now, what do you think, if someone was thinking, yeah, I think, I want to produce this piece of content, but, is there an optimal length that YouTube likes for this?
So all of the parts of Educate are just peppering in a few sentences here and there. So you could probably do Educate in the space of a minute if you really wanted to. You have to be quite concise and get things down. But we've done plenty of ads that combine all of these elements and put them into one ad. And so whilst that framework works really well, that could be a 1 minute video, that could be a 10-minute video, it could be an hour-long video if you really wanted to. We've got ads that work really well at 45 minutes. And they're content-rich content. We've got ads that work really well at 10 minutes, ads that really work well at 60 seconds. I would say that when it comes to creating your content for your channel, I think the sweet spot is over 8 minutes and probably less than 20 minutes. I think around about 10 to 12 minutes is like a sweet spot for this type of thing. Sometimes a YouTube video over about 10 minutes can really violate a schema that you currently have, where you're thinking, hang on a second, I've always done it this way. So you're telling me to do it a different way. Wait a sec, why? So that's what you want to try and do for people. You want to try and tackle a big subject matter that people have to change change the way they're thinking about things. They're going to be like, wait a second. So you're telling me to do this in a completely new way. All right, one sec. So walk me through it. And so then you literally are walking them through it. You're showing them the education. You're going through the Educate model, or to explain your framework and things. So it's almost like, right, unpack that for people. You really want to make it easy for people to feel like I had an old belief prior to watching this video, now have a new way of thinking as a result of this video. And I'm going to generalize that across everything I'm doing. But as you're knitting it back together, what you're finding is that you're embedding your brand into that message. So if like, this person once taught me this, and it changed how I think about things forever. And that's the impact you want to try and think about when you're having on your YouTube videos.
So presumably you create this video, whether it's 1 minute or 10 minutes, 12 minutes, you upload it onto your channel as a public viewing video. And then where you come in then is you basically then put some money behind it, some ad spend to make sure it gets in front of the right audience. Now, when I always think of an audience, I think we all sort of hover over that skip ads. Now, must admit, sometimes I do get hooked into it and I do watch it and then I skip it. I always find it interesting when I see the skip ads, I see a video which is 12 minutes and I go, why are they doing a 12-minute video? So you're saying basically, if you're doing a skippable ad, for example, it doesn't have to be 30 seconds or a minute. It doesn't have to be an ad as we know it, but it can actually be longer content. Is that correct? Even though people might skip?
I think there's so many hangovers that I see from advertising of years gone by, right? So people believe their ads have to be a certain way because of, I don't know, because they just believe that's going to be the way it is. So like the schema that most people have in the advertising as well is because of TV. They're like, right, you have a 30-second spot, you have a 60-second spot, and you have a 90-second spot, and that's it. It's like, what? No, you can have a 10-second spot if you really wanted to. You could have a 2-hour spot if you really wanted to. And who's to say what's going to work best? And also people are saying, with YouTube, the thing you really want to do is the ad just gets the click, and then the click after that point, the website takes over at that point. That's complete rubbish as well. Like, you can have a YouTube video as an ad that does all of the whole customer journey, everything, all the way up to the point of checkout. So you can say, here's what you're buying, here's everything you're getting, and now go and click this link, it takes them to the checkout. No big website, no, literally go and make your purchase here from my YouTube video. And you can bypass so much. And that works ridiculously effectively. And there's so many reasons for it, but like literally you can reinvent the wheel here. You don't need to adhere to the old schemas, the old ways of thinking of years gone by with advertising, because that's what works well for TV spots, So how TV is created in the past was like, make sure there's enough advertising in it, and this is how to get enough brands advertising, and so it's like, why do we feel like we have to do that same thing on YouTube? We can do it in a completely different way. Obviously, if you're going to create a longer video, it needs to be really good to hold people's attention. But on YouTube, that happens. On average, people spend 40 minutes on YouTube. 40 minutes is an insanely long period of time. And they're actively engaged. They're clicking, they're watching videos. They're not passively watching TV. They're leaning in, clicking and watching. So when someone's watching for 40 minutes and you have a video for 20 minutes, you're only taking up half of their viewer experience with your ad. But if it's good content, it's good value, then people will get to know you, like you, trust you, and would consider buying from you. So in the video, give them a call to action, if it makes sense. I think that every organic video you put out there can have a call to action. It has to be done elegantly. You don't want to do like a huge sales pitch from your video with fake scarcity and that sort of stuff. The biggest thing you can do is pull on identity and say, who do you really want to be? Do you want to be this person or this person? And that's enough tension for people to feel like, okay, cool, I don't want to be that person in my life. I don't want to stand to lose all of this. So you want people to kind of click, go buy, and you can change it all together. So yeah, don't adhere to the rules that people say. Like, you can play around with a few things and it can work really effectively.
I think the key there is actually to test. Just out of interest, so could you create like a shorter video, like a 2-minute video or 3-minute video, and then point them to a longer video, for example? So you sort of educate them through the journey. So rather than, because I often see an ad and I think, it's 10 minutes, I'm not going to watch that. But sometimes if it's 2 or 3 minutes, I might persevere a bit, might watch it a bit more. But maybe could the call to action then be, then watch this video here? And then, you're starting that sort of educational process. Would that work, do you think?
We had a really successful video campaign with Tony Policastro, who's like a guitar tutor, teaches people how to play guitar, acoustic guitar. And we created a video. The first video was like an introduction to learning how to play guitar. And he said, and then basically the divide would be is like, hey, look, if you're actually looking to properly learn guitar, let us know where you're at. Are you someone who's in a rut right now, or are you someone in like, so you've played a long time and you're kind of not getting the results, and it's kind of like you may have not touched your guitar for 20 years and you're just in a bit of a rut with it. What we'd end up doing is at the end of the video, gave people a choice. So it's like a choose your own adventure ad, we called it. So you could click one of two thumbnails to then go through to the relevant video after that point, just using an end screen. And so then you would click through you divide your audience up to people who are in a rut or self-identified with that, and people who are brand new, new was the word we used, new to guitar. And then we gave them separate messages based on where they're at. And we got so many really positive reviews about that. Like, normally when you run an ad, you get negative comments and people don't like it and you frustrate people. This is like, we had so much positivity behind all the videos, like so many comments, etc., about how cool the ad was. And at the end of that second video, once they click through, either through from a rut or a new, they'll go into different offers off the back of that. And that works really, really well. I think there's something around the ability to binge watch your brand. So if you said, right, go here next and then go here next, but not just here's another video that you might find useful. It's a purposeful, go watch this one to then further deepen your knowledge on this. Or if you're this sub-person, click here. If you're this sub-person, click here. And you kind of like giving them an adventure. You know, if you can create that little mini ecosystem for people, then people will really binge watch your content and really like it. That's something that I think is really unexplored and should be a lot deeper, because right now it's such a linear thing on YouTube. It's like, go watch this video. Next week I've got a new video, and it's go watch this video. It's like TV again. We can create experiences for people on YouTube. And so there's so much more to do on the platform. It's just people haven't really broken their schemas of what the platform is all about, you know? So instead of it just thinking of like, this is one video, think of a journey. Think of like what it is you would do. And I have a 3-part masterclass, and I get so much positivity around that. And so it's that type of thing. You want to try and provide a bit of a journey and experience for people. A bit more thought needs to go into it, but if you're able to do it, you're going to find that you really resonate with people, and it's really exciting to watch that content.
No, I'm a big advocate for creating consistent video content, but more than one video as well, and using those videos to help you, through the customer journey. Now, I'm interested. So what kind of results are you getting with your clients when you're using this process and, promoting ads through YouTube?
Yeah, so we have like two different divisions, I suppose, in our YouTube ad agency. So we have one division that's like doing all the big spend stuff, and that's kind of the direct response activity, the kind of the shorter ads typically that would then lead into an offer sale from YouTube. And we run those in-stream ads, so those are like the pre-roll ads, and we're using lots of other types of advertising like Performance Max and Google and things. But when we run that stuff, it's like you can really scale up. And we have some brands spending north of $50,000 a day running their ad campaigns. So that's kind of like one side of the agency, so to speak, the big side of the agency, I suppose, or bigger volume of spend, so to speak. And then we have another side of our agency that are normally for not necessarily smaller brands, but brands that want to have a deep impact with people, that their monthly budget on ads could be less than $1,000 type thing. It can be like you spend $5 a day sometimes as well. Those sorts of people are creating really good content and running their videos as in-feed ads. It's difficult to scale those campaigns up. It's difficult to get like so much exposure for those campaigns, but you're saying create your content, put $5 to $10 a day behind it. And through that process, you're going to see what works, what doesn't work, refine it a little bit. But as you go down that route, you're going to find that you can spend very small budgets, but have ridiculously good results, like really high ROAS and such a big impact on people. So ROAS being return on ad spend. But for every dollar you spend, you can find that you can break even or make good profit from it, whilst you can't scale it very well. So you can't go spend $50,000 a day on that activity of like in-feed video ads. What you can do is you can say, right, I'm going to put $10 a day. It's going to be consistent. It's going to keep on generating really good audience for my brand on YouTube. And you start to get like, well, for cost per view typically averages out around about 5 cents. So if you're spending $10, my math isn't quick enough, but I think that's 200 views a day. And so you can immediately see how that would really rack up very quickly. And if you're able to make that work profitably as well, and typically we do, then you're like, great, my channel is growing. That video alone is growing by 200 views a day, which is just $10, and it's making me money. And it's like, cool. It doesn't take long before those start really adding up. All of a sudden you're doing over 1,000 views a week. And by the end of the year, you've got kind of over 50,000 views that have all been profitable. But imagine the reach you've had. Imagine the connections you've had with so many people. But with advertising, the beautiful thing about it is that you optimize for retention to ensure that you're getting really, really good retention from people. Also, what you're doing is you're optimizing for leads and sales, of course. The beauty is that you're getting so many more views, likes, subscribers, shares, building that brand out and getting so much data from that whole journey as well. So you're realizing what works, what doesn't work, what demographics work, which you kind of defining your audience, defining their search terms, defining what they find really useful, what content they find really useful. And it sets you up perfectly for the bigger stuff later on.
So what you're saying is start small. So I think it's probably, make sure you've got YouTube channel set up, start creating some really high value, good videos. And then what? So how do you start with actually pushing the content out through the YouTube network? I mean, is it easy to do? Is it something you can do yourself? Or as I suspect it's not as simple as that. There's quite a lot to understand and to look at. So as a business owner thinking, you know what, this is great. Yeah, I want to get in front of my audience. I want to get in front of a new audience. Yes, I can create a video, but I got no idea how to set this campaign up. Where would you start?
Yeah, good question. So create your video and get it on YouTube. That's kind of a one process in itself. And so you just upload it to YouTube and release that video as a public video on your channel when you're ready. As soon as it's released, or even before it's released, if you really want to, you can run it as an ad. So you'd run it as an in-feed video ad. So through the Google Ads platform, you just choose in-feed video ad.
Because I know you've probably got lots of choices. So in-feed
video ad is whereby if you're on YouTube, you're going to see the video thumbnail appear at the top of search results, on the right-hand side as you're watching a video on a desktop, or below the video if you're watching the video on a mobile device, and sometimes even on the home screen as well. So lots of different locations you turn up. It's just literally your thumbnail being shown, as well as the title of the ad and I can't remember exactly what other information, but there's it looks very much like a organic video being promoted, basically, and that's kind of exactly what it is, really, as well. So when you've got your video, you run it you choose in-feed video ad. Make sure your thumbnail and your title is strong, but you just need to be prompted through, like, okay, I need 2 lines of a description now. And so you just write in what you think those 2 lines of description should be, and all good. Just make sure you've got a call to action in the video and a clickable link through to your site. That could be done with end screens, or it can be done with a card, or it can be done with link in the description or a pinned comment. Lots of different ways of making sure that once people start watching that video, there's lots of ways of clicking to the site to get the next step from you. And when you're doing the setup of your account, so you set up your account, you set up a new campaign, you set up the ad, and then you're going to choose the targeting that goes with that ad. And really, you just want to go and grab a load of keywords that you think will be relevant for that content. So if it's like how to fix your slice in golf, for example, and you've got like a 10-minute content video about how to do that, then you're going to want all the keywords you can think of around how to fix your slice, how to hit your irons pure, how to, like, do you know what I mean? All the kind of like relevant keywords that you think would be right for that. Then you start running your ad and you just optimize based on retention. And then you keep a very close eye on how many leads and sales are being generated from that activity, or how many clicks, leads, and sales have been generated from that activity, or booked calls, whatever it is you're wanting to track. Tracking is a relatively simple thing to do, but it's almost like you just need to do it. Lots of brands advertise without tracking, which is insane to me. But you just download something called Google Tag Manager, or set up a free account using Google Tag Manager. Inside of your ad account, you'd be given or you can create your own tags, or your pixels, which is kind of like little pixels that you put onto the website that fire when someone has completed a task. So it might be like, did you get to the page? Yes, cool. We'll fire a pixel on the landing page, and then it'll tell your ad account that from that ad and that demographic, and on this date, you had someone hit your landing page, which is like they clicked your ad, and then it'd be like, did they sign up? Cool, we'll put a pixel on the thank you page. And so it just reports all that data back into your ad account, and you can see exactly how you're doing. And then you can play around with the budgets and how things are working. And YouTube or Google Ads try and make it as simple as possible for you. They do a bad job of that. They make it a bit more complicated than it needs to be. But it's a beast of a platform. But if you stick in that lane of in-feed video ads, you can't really go too far wrong. It's a great way of running campaigns, and it just needs someone to look at it on a regular basis, and keep adding more videos, keep adding more keywords, keep testing things out. Video is strong and your offer is strong. From a content perspective and a value perspective, that's all you kind of need, and you're off and running.
I think I guess my big tip here and takeaway is I think it's very easy to do ads on Google and YouTube, for example. Of course, they make it as easy as possible because they want your money, right? And I think my biggest tip here, because I have tried it myself before, it's quite easy to spend quite a lot and not get a lot of results unless you've got someone who actually knows the platform well and can optimize it for your content. And I think the key also is to test and turn things on and off, change things around, change the spend, change the demographic you're targeting, and I think if you do that, it's really about the testing. And you're right, it's about the measuring, don't just put the ad up there and let it go and then forget about it without actually trying to track the results. And if it's working, if it's not working, you can switch it off and then try something else, test something else. It's all about the testing. Tom, this has been great content. If we got some listeners and watchers going, I like this idea, but where do I start? How can people get in touch with you, or how can they know more about you and what you do?
Probably the best thing would be to go to either if people are interested in our agency, that's viewability.co.uk, and you can apply to become a client there if that was something that would be of interest. If you have a YouTube channel and you want us to do an audit of your completed channel, we call it an X-ray. We have a tool that will do that for completely free. You can go to bidurk.com, which is BIDURK.com. Strange name, but works very well for us. Lots of different ways of reaching out and finding us. And we're releasing content and data like this all the time. So if you're watching this show and you're finding it useful, please do reach out.
I'll put all the links in the description and the show notes, but I think having this X-ray, this audit of your current channel is a great way to start. And then you can actually have a conversation with Tom and see where you are and see how you can help our businesses. Basically, my motto is, create video content to make sure it helps grow your business. And I think at this day and age, you do actually need what I call pay to play. So YouTube ads, I think, is definitely worth looking at. So much to unpack. Thank you, Tom, for your time. I am sure I'm going to have you back at some stage, particularly when you've inspired me to actually go, right, I'm going to do this as well. And I'm sure I'll be reaching out to you for your help and advice. Thank you, Tom, for joining me today.
Thank you, Simon. Great to be here.
A postscript to this episode, I was inspired by Tom to actually test promoting one of my videos. It was Video Trends for 2023. I spent £30, just over 7 days, and promoted the video to 1,600 views and gained some new subscribers. So it's a small spend, but I did get results, and it's definitely worth testing, and I shall continue to do so. So thanks for watching. Please check out some other episodes. I do have one where I interviewed Lee Kennedy on how to amplify your video. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I shall see you in the next video.